Hey mamas, how are you feeling during this back to school season? I don't know where the time has gone, but I can't believe that the kids are like officially back in school. At least where I am, like we're officially back in school. But it's so crazy how summer has come and gone in like the blink of an eye. And I feel like maybe I should stop blinking my eyes and maybe the time will go by slower because for real it's like a thing right now where the time just seems to keep moving faster and faster. Does anyone else feel that way? Welcome back to the podcast, Blessed as a Mother. I am your host, Tanisha, and I am so happy that you're able to join me here today. We're back with official episode number 2. Our last episode was the pilot. It was a while ago. Excuse me. I had some family issues that I was dealing with and then some other things to pile on top of that. And if you know, life will life when the best of things are going and you just have to keep on moving forward. So here we are moving forward with episode number 2. So this is an episode dedicated to back to school because that is just like the season that we're in now. That is the time of year we're in. And I don't see how we're in back to school season and technically it's still summer. So I looked it up and the official date for fall this year is September 22nd. So I don't understand why we're already back to school. Like, shouldn't we have a full 3 months of summer because it is still technically summer? I would love it if we didn't have to go back to school yet, but that's here nor there. For a lot of us, we are back to school. For some, I know it's been a few weeks now that the kiddos have been back to class, but whether you're already back to class or you're preparing to go back to school this season, as moms, we are going to embrace this transition with patience, okay? And I will tell you that is something for me that I personally struggle with, and I'm actively working on becoming a more patient, not only parent, but person. Not that I'm not patient, but no, I'm not patient. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not patient at all. It is something that I've struggled with for a while. I said I want to be a patient parent. I want to do some of the gentle parenting techniques. And when I tell you sometimes that's out the door, that is just out the door for me. I think for me, I'm just so type A and I'm a Virgo and we are like perfectionists. Things need to be done a perfect way or a certain way. And that's just not reality. So when perfection does not exist, it drives me into chaos. And I need to get over into the real world and realize that patience is a virtue and perfection does not exist. And plus, I don't think either of my parents gifted me with the gift of patience. So yeah, we are working on it, like I said before, but we will continue to work on it. And I feel like patience is a virtue, especially in seasons of transition, and going in back to school for all of us is definitely a transition after our wonderful summertime. But yeah, I think that one of the things that was kind of cool to me is I always thought patience is a virtue was a Bible verse, and apparently it's not. They do talk a lot in the Bible about patience. There are verses about patience, but they were like, yeah, it came from some old English dude and he had like this, they said it was a poem, I think, that he wrote, but it was like this long, huge monologue, and I couldn't even find, I think it said patience is a fair virtue was the actual quote. I'm gonna have to link that in my show notes because it was really weird. I always thought that was a Bible verse, but it's a saying that I know we've all heard time and time again, that patience is a virtue and it is a good attribute to have. And the reality of back to school is it's a season that can be overwhelming time for many of us moms, mentally and logistically. We have to think about so many different things as we transition these seasons. And it's like, man, can we just keep on summer break and just like not avoid it, but can we push it back so we can actually be prepared? Like, can we just have a little bit more time to be prepared? We have to think of so many things. We have to think of what our new schedule looks like. Are the kiddos going to take the bus or are we dropping them off? Are we going to have to wait in drop off lines that you see? Because every time I drive past the school, I see these people waiting and they're like taking a nap in their car so they can be the first in line waiting to pick up their kids. And then if you're not the first in line, it's like you're somewhere in the middle or you're the very last. And that line is huge when it comes to dropping off and picking up your kids. And I'm sure you've seen it before when you ride by the school and you see the flashing lights and like you have to slow down and wait to go by this area and you're looking at all these cars like, what is going on? Yes, that is the pickup line for people picking up their kids from school. We also have to think of things like what's for lunch. Are we going to pack them lunch or are we going to feed them school lunch? Are we going to give them money to eat school lunch? What are they going to eat at school? Are they getting a nutritious meal? Are they even eating all the things that are on their plate? What are their teachers going to be like? Are they going to like their new class? Are they going to make friends? What are they going to wear? Did we buy the right school supplies? And in this economy, talking about buying anything is definitely a hassle. We hear all these things about tariffs and price increases and recessions, and we're like in inflation. And then on top of that, we have to go out and buy stuff. Oh yeah, that it's just adds on to the list of things that we have to think about. But seriously, the list goes on and on of things that we definitely have to think about. And with all these things going on, it's no surprise that we're stressed out, probably from a financial point of view as well as a mental point of view. But I remember the good old days when we used to go back to school shopping, when malls were actually a thing. Like I used to love going to the mall, and they were actually popular to go back to then. So it was nice. You get to see people, you get to see the trends, you get to meet people. And now a lot of that stuff is online. And for me, I'm not with some of the things for the digital age. I am an in-person girly when it comes to shopping. I love shopping. I love the mall, but I feel like the vibe just isn't what it used to be. And I also feel that way when it comes to the idea of back to school season, because I did like school, but I decided that I wanted to homeschool my kids this year because the vibe of school for me just isn't what it used to be. I've definitely seen that a lot of other people are starting to homeschool their kids. When I decided that I was going to homeschool, I noticed that, I don't know, maybe the phone was just listening to me, but some of the influencers that I watched, well, it's kind of funny because it was actually the influencers that I would watch. It wasn't even like new people coming up on my, as you guys like to say now, my FYP. It wasn't new people coming on my For You page. It was people that I actually watch, and multiple creators that I watch were talking about they're going to take this time to homeschool their kids. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I was thinking about doing the same thing. And not only have I seen some creators that are homeschooling, I also have a neighbor by me who homeschools her kids. And yeah, I think that it's just nice to have all these people around you that are going through the same thing and that understand that. Seeing these mom influencers, whether they're talking about homeschooling or just doing their thing when it comes to going back to school, I think for some of us like regular smuggler people, it can feel a little intimidating. And what I mean by that is even like when they share their raw, real moments of like their kids doing things around the house, it still looks like it's a picture perfect moment. And trying to emulate these influencers and their ideals when it comes to back to school, sometimes it can add pressure in this already stressful transition to our lives. So whether you're homeschooling or sending your kids off to school, we talked about this. Patience is a virtue, okay? We need to be patient with our kids, with ourselves, with the school system, and with all the other things that come into play when we talk to back to school season. But we have to remember that it's really about our kids. They're going through such a huge transition when it comes to they completed one grade. They had this nice time off that they got to spend with their family, or maybe they did summer camps and got to make new friends. And now they're going into a whole new grade. They're going to have, maybe they'll have some of the same friends. Maybe some of their friends switch schools. Maybe they'll have new friends. Maybe they have new teachers. And it's all these things that they're probably stressed out about too. So we need to be patient and contain our stress and try to focus on the fact that our kids are going through a major transition. And for me, I homeschool, so I can't talk too much about like the school. But for me, my kids are little, and it's a transition for them to have the idea of being homeschooled and actually having to sit down and concentrate in our classroom. Well, we do have an actual classroom, but the idea that they have to sit down and concentrate and that I'm now their teacher, it's a whole nother ballgame. I think it's easier to send the kids off to school, to be honest with you, but no matter what the school, what the program is your kids are on, if they're at home, if they're going to school, it's a transition, okay? We are all going through it. We are all going through the same things. We are all experiencing similar emotions and logistical changes when it comes to this season of life. So not only should we be patient with our kids, but we need to be patient with ourselves. We are getting into new routines. We're trying to figure out what works best for us, what also works for our kids. I cannot imagine right now the moms who have to get their kids to school at a certain time. I am homeschooling, like I said 1,000 times already, but getting my kids up and ready for the day is crazy. Okay. My oldest, he's about to turn 6. He's an angel. He picks out his own clothes. He gets himself dressed. He brushes his teeth. On to the next one. My middle child, he's 3. Have you ever tried to get a 3-year-old ready to be somewhere at a certain time? It's like you might as well start 2 hours ago. I'll tell my kid, I'm like, baby, go get your underwear. He's playing with the toy. He's doing this. He's doing that. I'm like, Zayden, that's my baby's name. And I look at him and I'm like, Zayden, look at me. And you have to like really get his attention for him to listen. So I will, when I finally catch his attention, I'm like, get your underwear now. Do, 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 do. It's like he has the Jeopardy timer and he just takes forever to do it on his own time. So finally he'll get his underwear and I'm like, okay, let's put your clothes on. Let's get your underwear on. And I help him out and I am trying to help him put his underwear on. I'm like, put your leg in. And he's like, it's like Allen Iverson, like he's juking me out. And I'm like, we're not on the court. We're not in the jungle gym. Like we're standing right here. And he'll start doing flips and start moving. And I'm like, bro, get your underwear on now, please. And that one, he drives me up a wall. He drives me up a wall when it comes to trying to get him ready at a certain time because he's like any other kid where they're like flipping out and doing all kind of random stuff when you're trying to get them ready. So for the moms who have to take their kids to school, I salute you. I salute you because I don't know how I could get them to school on a certain time. And on top of that, they wake up late around here. And if they don't get their sleep, they are so irritable. So that's one of the things that I want to implement in my homeschooling classroom is I'm going to have a whiteboard of like hygiene and type thing and chores and stuff like that. So I want to make sure like, did you brush your teeth? Did you wash your face? You got dressed? Did you clean your room? Did you make your bed? And I want to start making my kids more in control of doing these things by themselves than me trying to be super mom and do everything for them. I think it's very important to teach your kids the independence of doing all this stuff. The other thing that I was going to touch on that we need to have patience with is, I don't want to say we need to have patience with the school, but we kind of do need to have patience with like our teachers. I've seen a lot of like the new teacher like TikToks and it's been so cute. Like they're getting their classroom all nice and cute, but they're probably going through logistical changes too. And then they have all these kids and you know how kids are. Imagine being around like 30 of them. Yeah, kids are mad overwhelming. So yeah, I think that when we have patience in this stage of life, it'll definitely help kind of ease some of the stress of this season. And one thing to remember is that we try to be prepared for back to school. We try to have all their, back to school shopping done, school supplies, the clothes and things like that. But you're always going to feel like the finish line is moving because once let's say you get all their stuff ready for back to school, then maybe it's time for your kids to do a sports and you have to get all these things for your kid to participate in the sport. I feel like you'll never be like fully prepared for everything that comes with your kids going back to school. But when things come up, you can pivot with patience. Also in this season, we're doing a lot of transitions when it comes to routines, right? Am I right? Because it's like we have to wake up at a certain time now. We have to get dressed and be ready and out the door at a certain time. And instead of trying to overhaul like your whole morning routine and your whole day-to-day routine, start with making small changes that'll help your kids get ready for school. For example, kids have to get up and be ready by a certain time. So think of the ideal time that you think, okay, like map out your day. Okay, if the kids get up by this time, we can eat breakfast, do this and do this at this time. So start with that time. Okay, wake your kid up at that time, get them dressed, make them breakfast, have a quick conversation with them about like how their previous day was. Did they get their homework done? What did they learn? Or just talk lightly about something that puts them in the mood to have a really good day at school and see like, okay, did I feel really rushed this morning? Do I wish I would have made a better breakfast this morning? Did I have breakfast prepared? Like tweak the things that you think you need to work on and edit and refine your morning routine so that it works for you and your family and your child. When it comes to packing lunches, if you're packing lunches, maybe we think about things that reduce the stress of packing lunches. Do I need to pack them at night? Is there a system that I can make to make this go quicker? Okay, I didn't have time for lunch. Can I just give them some money to get lunch? Know your options so that way you can be prepared. So as I mentioned earlier, getting the kids ready can feel like a job itself. I know for me, I have 3 kids, and after I run around getting them all ready, I'm exhausted. And then it's my turn and I have nothing left to give. So I walk out of here looking mad crazy because I spent all my efforts putting it into the kids. So we'll say that is something that we are working on and that we are progressing on. Like I said earlier, helping them become more established and getting themselves ready independently. That is something that we have to day to day work on so we can make progress on so that they can perfect it. Because I know still for me, some days my oldest will have his shirt on backwards and I'm like, did you not see the tag? He's like, yeah, it's in the back. I'm like, no, babe, it's not. Or like their pants will be a little twisted. And so I have to like, refine them and like fix little things. But that's so much easier than having to do everything by yourself. If getting them ready is a job in itself, what about the rest of the day preparing them for school? Like we're talking breakfast, we're talking lunch, we're talking homework, we're talking the commute, all the other things that we had questions about earlier that we thought about in our mind, like all these things we have to make come into fruition, right? And that can be very, very challenging. So there are multiple things that we can do to kind of help ourselves through this transition of getting into a routine for school. Right? So maybe we have to start moving up bedtime because they need to go to sleep earlier so they can wake up earlier and actually be able to function for the day. Because I don't know about you, but for me, when I let my kids stay up late and then they still want to get up, they don't sleep in super late. If they stay up late, they get up at a reasonable time. But imagine if I let them stay up late and then I had to get them up early. It would be over with, okay? My day would be a wrap because they would be crying about everything. They just cannot function without a certain amount of sleep. And that's just how kids are. When they don't get a certain threshold of sleep, kids are crazy, okay? Mine, they start crying about everything. Or I love it when they're overly tired and they're just like, how do you explain it? It's like they're in la la land, like it's just they're floating and you're like, bro, what's wrong with you? And it's just like you could tell they're like overly tired. I was like, he's just overly tired, let him be. And I let them kind of just do what they're gonna do because they don't function rationally when they're overly tired. Anyways, when kids do not get enough sleep, they act irrational. And our job as parents is to figure out, okay, how can we get them into a better nighttime routine where they can get adequate amount of sleep. Don't only look at this as it's for young kids. Teenagers need sleep too. They were talking about this actually on the news a few days ago. They were talking about how the teens are getting less and less sleep because they're up all night scrolling on the phone. I remember when I was younger, we had late night basketball games or practice would go late and then I had to get home, do homework, do chores. And I just wasn't in bed at the earliest of times, but they need sleep too. So make sure like your kids of any age are getting the adequate amount of sleep because this will help them just overall in their day-to-day life. So whether you're dealing with toddlers or teenagers, it is definitely our job as moms to help them build routines that are sustainable, not only for us, but for them. And so I think that that can be a challenge for many of us moms because for me, it's hard to get myself on a routine and managing 3 young kids is so hard. So I think at any age, it never gets I think at any age it's challenging because you have to find what works best for your kids. And like the fact that it's your responsibility, I feel like it just puts an added pressure on things as well. So we want to get over this idea of having like the perfect morning routine and the perfect nighttime routine and the most aesthetic and cute lunch. Like the fact that we put effort into doing this for our kids and is showing up and being there every day is really what's important. And it's not about being perfect. It's about progressing through these transitions. And when the routine gets somewhere where we feel like it's perfect, like something comes up in life and everything changes. And you're going to have to like move the finish line to what is the ideal situation for you and your family. And so then it becomes about progress again. So So practicing patience during this time of progression is something that will help us, and it's something that'll take the pressure and like the anxiety and stress away from these things. Like, we just have to know that we're always progressing, and we will never be at a perfect place, but we will get to a place where it becomes easier, it feels more comfortable, and it's more of a rhythm, and it seems to work for everybody. Also, a cool thing that I like to do, I think a lot of people have went digital when it comes to like a calendar, but I think it's important that we're all on our own digital things. But I think it's kind of nice to have a system where you have a family calendar and you can make sure that everyone's things get put on the family calendar, because maybe sometimes the digital calendar doesn't cross people's minds, but seeing things, like having an area where you walk by frequently where you can see things on the calendar, maybe that will help you guys stay organized. And there are no perfect solutions, but you have to figure out what works perfectly for you. As they like to say these days, just give yourself grace. I feel like part of giving yourself grace is having time to validate your emotions as a mom. Sometimes we feel very overwhelmed. We get tired. We're short-tempered. We're all over the place. We're scatterbrained. And that is something we all go through at some point in life. For me right now, I go through all of them. I'm not even going to lie. I am so tired all the time because I don't get adequate sleep. And for me, that can be very, very challenging. I remember just the other night, my husband took the kids outside. He was playing with the kids. And so I cooked dinner and I told the kids, come inside, come eat. And they got to eat. And then I didn't get a chance to clean the kitchen after I cooked dinner. And so me and my husband went upstairs, started getting the kids ready for bed because it was just that time of day and it was getting super late. So I was like, just don't worry about the kitchen. I'll handle it later. And so let's just get the kids ready for bed. So we got the kids ready for bed, got them all to sleep. I come back downstairs at like 11:30. Okay. I start doing dishes. An hour later, there she goes on the monitor. She's sitting up just waiting for me. I come to her room. I, coddle her, put her back to bed, sit with her for a minute until she gets back to sleep. And then I come out. Now, if you know what it's like to sit in a room where it is dark, you have the sound machine on, you're listening to the ocean waves, you have the night music. That's what I call it for my kids. We call it night music. I have like the classical piano, like the lullabies playing on the iPad. And so you hear all these nice sounds. It's dark, it's dim, and you're laying next to your baby, cuddling, like you're ready to go to bed. So sometimes it definitely puts me to sleep, but I'm like, okay, I can't go to sleep. I have to get up and finish doing the dishes. So after she gets to sleep, I come out of her room, but you kind of have this sense of like grogginess over you because it's like you feel like you were asleep even though you weren't asleep, right? It's like this, it's weird. It's just like come out and I'm like, am I asleep or am I not? It's kind of like you're in a dream and it's like such a fog. So anyways, I come back downstairs and then I finally finished the dishes and I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2 a.m. and mama is tired. So I was like, man, I need to get some sleep because my husband works. He won't be with us in the morning. So I do the mornings by myself normally unless he's off. And I decided to go upstairs, go ahead and call it a night, go to sleep. As I want to start waking up earlier. So I put my alarm on for 6:12. I was like, okay, that's 4 hours, like exactly. And I need at least 4 hours of sleep. Like I need way more sleep and I get way more sleep, but the goal is to get up earlier. So 6:12, the alarm was on. I put my alarm on. I lay my head on the pillow and I hear my door rattling. My 3-year-old is waiting at the door. He comes in and I'm like, no, you're not getting in my bed. So I get up, go put him in his bed. He lays down for a few minutes. I tuck him in, give him a kiss, all that. He lays down for a few minutes. About 3 minutes later, he's back in my room. And I was like, no, you cannot lay in my bed, honey. Everyone else is asleep in their own beds. You need to sleep in your own bed too. And so I get up, I take him into his room, I put him to sleep. Well, I put him back in his bed, I tuck him in, all the things again, and I go back in my room. And he goes to sleep on his own, so I didn't have to worry about him. But I'm trying not to like, it's so easy to let them sleep in my bed so I can get some sleep. It's so easy, but I'm trying not to encourage that, because what happens is the more I do that, it becomes a habit. We're trying not to go backwards. So for me, it's really hard to get up so many times throughout the middle of the night, but it's important for me to have this established routine that they stay in their bed. So I'm working on my progression of keeping them in their own bed overnight. My 3-year-old finally gets back to sleep. I get in the bed and I'm like, yes, I get to go to sleep. I got a few hours of sleep. My alarm did not wake me up at 6:12. I got woken up by my littlest baby once again at like 5 o'clock. So I'm like, man, it's way too early for you to get up. You need your sleep. I go in her room, put her back to sleep. It didn't take very long. Sometimes she's just kind of groggy. She wants like her pacifier or just like a little coddling, a hug or something. Put her back to sleep, lay her down, get in my bed, go to sleep. My 3-year-old comes back at 6:30. I had turned my 6:12 alarm clock off because I'm like, at this point, between all these like wake up, get out of bed, put them back to sleep, like it just feels like I didn't get any sleep. So I was like, I'll just wait till they get up, because they're gonna get up around 7:30, 8 o'clock anyways. So I was like, I'll just, hold out and get up when they get up, because I'm tired. So I turned my alarm off, and my 3-year-old, sure enough, he comes in at 6:30, and I'm like, oh, lay down in the bed, go back to sleep. It's light outside already, but I have my, my curtains. I have ones that the light comes through. They're not fully like blackout, so you can tell when it's starting to get light outside. 6:30, he's laying around the bed. This little boy, he keeps like hitting me in the face, like just rubbing me and like moving my face around and playing with my face. And I'm like, can you stop? It is 6:30 in the morning. I told you to go back to sleep. You're laying in my bed, which I like that you are, but if you're going to be in my bed, like cuddle with me, do something nice. He's literally playing with my face. And so at this point, I'm like, I am tired. That day was definitely a day, because I was tired. I was short-tempered. I was scatterbrained. And I was like, man, we're all like on the low sleep train. I just have to be patient with myself, be patient with my kids, and realize that, okay, we didn't really get adequate sleep. Like, we're just going to make it. We're going to survive the day, basically. And I think understanding those moments is very important, because we are not designed and built to be like that. And I think with moms, we struggle a lot with that. The idea, I tell people, I have not gotten a full night's sleep since I had my first child. Motherhood is not for the weary, and sleep for us, sometimes it feels like it's non-existent. But you are valid in your emotions to feel like you were tired. That tiredness seems to sometimes trickle into being short-tempered. And I have learned one thing about being short-tempered and being patient is to not put such a timestamp on things. Now I know, like, we have to be out the door on a certain time, and we have to, get up at a certain time and things like that. And that's cool. But the in-between times, like, let it flow. Or let's say we have to be out the door at 7:45. If we wake up at 6:45 and I have an hour to like get everyone ready and get out the door, I want to find a way to romanticize it and make it feel like a rhythm, make it feel like music where there's a rhythm and it flows. I think when you let it flow, it naturally becomes a rhythm. Whereas when you're militant with it, I think it stresses everybody out, including yourself. So as you're building these routines, give yourself grace, progress over perfection. And remember that whatever emotions you're feeling, you are valid for feeling them. That's what I was saying. So when it comes to being short-tempered, I just find that this is your life and you choose how to live it. If you choose that you have to be, like, this was me all the time. Like, we need to hurry up and get out the door. We need to hurry up and go here. We need to hurry up and do that. Like, there was a certain time frame I put on things, and it was something that was self-inflicted. Like, it was not like we needed to actually be somewhere at a certain time. It was just for me and my standards and my type A personality. I felt like this shouldn't take this long to do. And that made me very short tempered with my children, and I did not like that. So I decided that I had to be the change on that note. And remember that they're kids, okay? I'm their parent, and it's sometimes as a parent, like, it's not about you and your expectations, it's about the kids. How much better does it feel when they get to brush their teeth by themselves, or you get to take the time to groom them one by one and make sure you have that time where they feel good about themselves? I affirm to them how clean and nice their teeth look, how beautiful their brown skin is, how beautiful their curly hair looks after I put the product in it, how nice their smile is when they're just smiling. And my oldest one, he eats it up. He loves it. He is one that just, he likes that validation and he likes that praise. And I give it to him because I feel like as a mother, that's my job. So I started slowing down and remembering that there is no rush. Like, why am I in such a rush all the time? There is no rush. So even when you have to get out the door at a certain time, prepare yourself. I remember this Sunday we went to church and I was like, okay, we have like an hour and a half. We have plenty of time to like eat breakfast, get ready. I had all their clothes laid out. And of course we were late. Normally I would stress about it. And I would let everyone know we're late. Especially my husband. I'm like, look, what are you doing? Like, you're not doing this. You're not doing that. And I found that is actually, it's more stressful for everyone than helpful. So instead, I started doing other things. I just didn't even mention that we were late. I said, oh, church plays music for a whole hour. So we have plenty of time where we can still have time to do praise and worship and then learn the message. So I stopped stressing about it and I just learned to relax and like live my life. And then next week, I learned how to kind of edit myself and refine our routine. So next week, I will probably get up earlier. I will probably get myself dressed first. We can come downstairs, eat breakfast, do all the same things, but we'll just move the time up a little bit earlier. So as you're going through this back to school season and maybe your routine doesn't seem perfect to you or it's not working out, start to edit and tweak these things. You can make these changes. Like, you can do it. Why can't you? If you feel like you're running late every day, wake up a little bit earlier. If you don't want to wake up a little bit earlier, start preparing things the night before. Maybe lay out your clothes of what you're going to wear. Maybe shower the night before. Make sure you do all your skincare and things. So in the morning, maybe you just do like a quick wash and moisturizer, and it's not like you have to do this full blown out routine in the morning because you didn't do it at night. Maybe start packing lunches at night or making sure the backpacks are ready to go in the morning. Maybe you find that your things are everywhere and you can't find things. Why don't you set a dedicated area to where you can have all the kids' stuff ready to go out the door? Their shoes, their backpack, a jacket for the day. Set the clothes out for the week. Maybe you have a day off and your day off is the only day that you have to do things. Set them a specific area where they can kind of have their daily like routine stuff, but then also like in their closet, maybe you get one of the organizers where you can plan out all their clothes Monday through Friday so they're ready for school every day. Maybe you're having trouble with lunches. Okay, like you don't want to give them money every day for lunch and you decided that you want them to make lunch. Maybe you let them make their own lunches. The other day I took out a loaf of bread and turkey and I told the kids, look, we sat at the table and everyone made sandwiches. You grab 2 pieces of bread, you grab 2 pieces of bread, here's a piece of turkey, and they put the turkey on their own sandwich. My oldest one, he doesn't like the crust on the bread, so he peeled the crust off by himself. Did his sandwich look perfect? No. Did that bother me? A little, yes. I wanted to like cut his sandwich nice and neat, have the cutest little squares. But that's not important. It's that what seems important to us is just not that important. The important part is they have food to eat, they're clothed, they're bathed, they're taken care of, and that you're present when they're doing those things. Doing it all for them does not make it perfect, but being there while they're doing these things is kind of what makes it perfect in my book. So yeah, we're going to continue with the idea of talking about the emotional side of this back to school season. And I think the main focus about back to school season, it really isn't even about back to school. It's just about the whole idea that we're in a season of transition. Okay. And it affects everyone in our family and everyone in our household. Recognizing that this transition of life will have a toll on you emotionally, it's very important that we change our mindset on these shifts in life and that we strengthen our emotional tool bag, if you will, so that we can prepare ourselves as moms to mentally be capable of handling this load of back to school season. Knowing how you feel and taking the time to actually understand how you feel, I think is very important too, because you can't really shift if you don't take the time to kind of sit, okay, this is why I'm stressed out. This is what's stressing me out, and this is why. So you've come to terms of like, okay, this is stressing me out. You've come to terms with why this is stressing you out. And now you can pivot and change. And some things sometimes I feel like things that we are emotionally like turmoiled over are like the most minute things. And sometimes that roots from like a different thing. So for me, I know one thing about being late that irritates me is when I was a kid, I remember we went to a private school and my mother would drive us to school. And every day we went to school, we were late. Every day we were late. And I remember I'd always have to get a note, please excuse so-and-so because it's blah, 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 blah. And I would always have to bring the note into class, and I was always late into the class. So everyone was always in the class and they looked at me as I came in because I was the late student to class every day. And so realizing that kind of took a toll on me and how I look at time management these days and why I don't want to be late. I'm always so upset when I'm late. Like, why are we always the late people? Why do we have to be late? And I always like stress it on my husband. And instead of doing that, like I realized that it's something that's internal because I was the person that always used to be late. And it kind of affected me in the long run as an adult that I don't want to be late all the time. And I don't want my kids to feel that way either. So I remember even my youngest, I put him in pre-K. And he's kind of a picky eater, so I'd make him breakfast at home. And so he would get there right after they kind of did breakfast. And I was like, is it okay with you when you get to class? And I would ask him these questions. I mean, he's in pre-K, but he would answer. He's like, yeah, I like getting here now because I get to see my friends and I get to play before we start class. Or sometimes he'd say, Mom, I want to go to school a little bit earlier. So he would tell me, and I would listen to these cues, and I would kind of tweak my routine where it fit that he got to school when he wanted to and he didn't have to feel late all the time, because I always felt like, man, we're late to his class every day. And it really took a toll on me emotionally because I didn't want him to feel like I felt when I was little. So kind of understanding like where your emotions come from too when it comes to around these things is super, super important. And I think we have to give ourselves grace instead of feeling guilty about these things, because it's very easy to feel guilty and kind of sulk in our problems. But we're not doing we're not doing that this season. We are giving ourselves grace. We are being patient, and we are using that patience to help us pivot and find what works perfectly for us and our family. Another thing that can help provide us with emotional support through this back to school transition is affirmations. I feel like affirmations can definitely help to boost the confidence of not only us, but our kids. It can also help foster a positive mindset through this transition season. So some affirmations that I really like for me as a parent, one of the ones that I really, really love and that is pertinent to me is I release perfection and welcome progress. Like I said before, type A, Virgo, I love things to be a perfect way, and I love things to be done a certain way. And if they're not done that way, it really, really gets to me. So just changing my mindset around the idea of perfection and welcoming progress over perfection is a huge, huge thing for me. And it also goes to what we spoke about earlier. Another affirmation that I like is I have everything I need to support myself and my children. You are enough as a parent. You are enough as a person. And you need to believe that. You don't need the latest and greatest electronics. You don't need the newest drop of shoes. Okay, you don't need the best school supplies. You are enough. And everyone is so different, and everyone needs to really embrace themselves and their personality. And when you can do that for yourself, you can do that and show up for your children. Just you being there and showing up for your kids makes a huge difference in their life. So knowing that you have everything you need to do this is a really powerful affirmation that you can say to yourself daily, so you can start to believe that. The last affirmation I'm going to give for the parents is actually about the kids, and it's a very, very beautiful affirmation. It's, my child is becoming who they are meant to be, and I get to help and witness that journey. It's kind of cool to watch your kids grow up. It's like, it goes by so quick, which is the not cool part, but the cool part is seeing like who they become and how their personality is like a rosebud, and it starts to blossom, and you see all these really beautiful layers of your kids, and it's like, wow, my kid is so nice. He's so funny. He's so playful. She's so bossy. She's so sassy. She is so smart. And just seeing all these different attributes about your kids is such a beautiful thing. And it's just like, wow, I look at my kids and I'm like, the things that you say and do, like, where is this coming from? And it's the fact that I get to help them through some of this journey, but some of it I'm just here to witness and watch. Like, I see them change and become into their own person. And I try not to control that. I try to help them along that journey and really foster and nurture the fact that they are becoming their own person. And I love that about being a parent. Don't love the fact that it goes by so quick and that it's moving so quickly, but I do love that I get to see that transition in their life. Okay, now the cool part and the fun part is setting affirmations for your kids. I think it's very important for you to affirm personality traits in your kids. This is the first one I'm going to start out with, is I can do hard things. And I think this is important for kids and adults, but it's very important to teach your kids that they are capable of doing hard things. Hard things is really just a perspective. We perceive something as hard. It may not even really be something hard, but we perceive it as hard, and letting them know that they are able to do hard things will help break glass ceilings for them. If they feel like they can do a hard thing, they feel like they can accomplish anything. And as parents, it's our job to make them feel like they can do literally anything. So that's one of my personal favorites. One of the other affirmations that I really like for kids comes from a movie that I really love, and you guys are probably going to have a kick out of this, but I love this affirmation from The Help when Viola Davis's character is sitting down with the girl that she nannies, and she says, "You is kind, you is smart, you is important." That is something that I feel like is very important to nurture in our kids. And you can pick words that you feel like describe your child better, but I think that's a really powerful affirmation for our kids to reaffirm that they are kind, they are smart, and they are important. I absolutely love that. I feel like that is one of my favorite parts of the movie. So yes, I've seen the part with the pie, but this is one of my favorite parts of the movie, is when I think they fire Viola Davis's character and she's sitting there saying these reaffirmative words to the girl she is nannying, and the mom is looking at her through the window, and it's just a whole powerful moment in the movie. It is our job as moms to speak life into our children, and I think this affirmation does just that. I really like, I believe in myself, and I also really like the affirmation, I belong. And so I think that they're both really, really powerful affirmations, because obviously we want our kids to believe in themselves, because they should know that the most important thing is to have belief in themselves, right? And it is also important to nurture the fact that they belong wherever they are. I mean, you want your kids to have a seat at the table, and they need to feel like they belong at that table. We belong here. We're not going anywhere. We belong. And when you walk in your path, you see that the seats will open up, and we're blessed enough to live in a day and age where The table can be quite literally anywhere. You can make your own table these days. Look at this podcast. I'm literally sitting at home. I decided how I wanted my set to look. I done all these things, and it's just having the belief that I belong here. That is the only thing that stops me at this point. So it's important to teach our kids that as well. They have a seat at the table. They belong at the table. They belong here. And we have to really nurture and foster that in our kids, especially kids of color. We know that opportunities for us can sometimes feel very limited, but we're in a day and age where we can create our own opportunities. We just have to believe. So with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude this week's episode. I hope that you took away some really helpful tips and tricks to help you with this back to school season. Whether it's a slow start, an emotional day, or a big win, it's all a step forward worth celebrating. Give yourself and your family grace in this season. Offer support where you can and just be there for your children, for this is a big transition for them as well. You're doing better than you think. Your presence, your encouragement, and your love matter more than anything. And let's remember that patience truly is a virtue, not just for our kids, but for us as moms. Progress will look different for everyone, and perfection isn't the goal. Presence is. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you have something to take away from this episode that will improve your life during this hectic back to school season. I'd love to hear how your back to school journey is going this year. Please leave a comment down below and share with me how everything is going, if you implemented any of these steps, if you have any words of encouragement for us and others. Also, please share this video with a fellow mom that you think may find this helpful. And until next time, be blessed as a mother.